Okie dokie, welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm Kat, and this is Catadactyl. I just filmed part 1 of this wrap-up. Oh, part 1, sorry. And right now we're gonna do part 2, because I read quite a few books in April, so it was just like too crazy to fit into one video. I would just like to say before I start this video that if any of the books are translated, the translators will be linked down below, along with the editions that I read, of course. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into the wrap-up. So the first book that I would like to talk about is Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, who is a Polish writer. And in this one we follow Chris, who is a psychologist who is sent to the planet Solaris, which is completely covered by an ocean. And the ocean has the ability to embody memories from the past. So pretty soon Chris finds himself with an embodiment of his long-lost lover who is dead. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not like this. Yeah, this is hailed as a sci-fi classic, and I will grant you that the ocean that can embody forms is completely amazeballs. However, I have massive issues, so let's talk about it. The problem lies in the fact that there are essentially two narratives. The first narrative is the action narrative, where all the cool shit happens. Basically the stuff that I just said. And then the other half is the constant deluge, mouth vomit of info dumps. This author was like, you know, we don't have to weave in information into the story in a subtle way. That's like overdone. We're just gonna info dump for chapters. Like, the author's like, oh, the history of the planet, info dump. Just throw it in there. Just throw it in there for pages upon pages, just block text of like the history of the planet, the history of the ocean, past attempts to come to the planet. Picture a trash can and then it's just info dump and it's just like hitting you in the face with the info dump, and I hated it. It pulled me out of the story so much. And right when I was gonna DNF it, we switched back to some of the action. So honestly, the reason I kept reading was I wanted to know what happened to Chris, and I wanted to know what happened on the station. And largely I completely skipped the info dump parts. So yeah, like, I'm not even mad about it, it's just, I'm not gonna read it. Nope. So I gave it 2.5 stars. Moving on! Alright, and the next book I'd like to talk about is To Be a Machine by Mark O'Connell. This is a non-fiction work about transhumanism, which is essentially the combination of technology with humanity in order for humans to live better and longer. This work spans a lot, and it goes from like cyborgs to reanimation to artificial intelligence to current political movements to current robotics and who's funding it and why. It's just a lot of information, and I found myself torn between being either vastly engrossed, mainly the chapters on current robotic technologies and artificial intelligence and possible ramifications of that, and completely bored by chapters that deal with severed head reanimation and transhumanist movement, and more the character pieces that O'Connell weaved throughout the narrative. I just largely don't care about the figureheads of anything. I just want to know about the science, and I don't really want to know about the people who are sticking things under their skin, kind of without any purpose or scientific backing. So yeah, overall 3 stars. There's a lot of food for thought here. I just don't know if it was exactly what I was looking for. It's a great grounding to catch me up to speed on some of the things like robotics and artificial intelligence that I maybe haven't been kept up to date on, but as for satisfying my AI sweet tooth, it definitely did not. What is it? Look, what is it? He's looking beyond the window. Like, if I hold him at this height, he can see out the window, and sometimes there's kitty cats that sit on the roof across the way, so he is so into the kitty cats. Oh, boo. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. So the next book that I'd like to talk about is Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Saadawi, who is an Iraqi writer, and this was translated from the Arabic. So this is set in US occupied Baghdad, and We follow Hattie, who is a scavenger and storyteller who picks up pieces of corpses that were blown apart by bombs and sewn back together into one body so that the body can be officially recognized and given a proper burial. However, this body reanimates and goes missing, and suddenly a string of murders happens. This book did an awful lot. +1 star for the history of Baghdad's occupation and the treatment of the citizens by foreign and local powers. +1 star for the extended metaphor of the monster as the symbol of war, of innocence, of revenge, of life, and of death. +1 star for the brutal black humor that Saadawi uses to explore everyday life in occupied Baghdad. So the missing and lost sons and fathers, the people blown apart just going to the market, crumbling homes, occupied houses, repossessed furniture, torn down walls, sectioned off parts of the city, food scarcity, lack of employment, danger in jobs. A really great exploration of a lot of elements of life in Baghdad that I wouldn't have otherwise known about. -1 star for way too many characters with way too similar names. I was so confused a lot of the time. And lastly, -1 star for the male gaze, which strongly permeated a lot of the novel, and it was very uncomfortable, and it just made me sad because without that heavy element of the male gaze, and if the characters had been tightened, I feel like I would have really found this book totally engrossing. Instead, the really heavy male gaze pulled me out of it just a little bit. So overall, I think that it is a really great examination of the Baghdad occupation and Iraq in general. I learned a lot reading the book, and I recommend it, even though I'm giving it 3 stars. The next book I would like to talk about is The Blue Fox by Sjón, who is an Icelandic writer. And the year is 1883, and we are following a priest who is on the hunt across the snowy mountainside / glaciers to hunt the elusive blue fox. And at the same time, we're also following a naturalist who is in charge of a woman named Abba who has Down syndrome, who was found on a shipwreck off the coast a while ago. And as both of the tales intertwine together and come to a stunning conclusion, you realize that the tale is part fable and part fairy tale. I wasn't expecting the story to be as gripping as it was, but I think it is the end that really just like clinched it for me. The end was just such a like, fuck you to you-know-who, and it was amazing. Like, righteous comeuppance, yeah. So for that, 4 stars, and I love the fairy tale and the magical realism of it. I just thought it was fantastic, and I will definitely be reading more of Sjón in the future. And the next book that I want to talk about is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year because it was billed as Anastasia in space. We follow Anna, who was found floating in space with DO9, who is a sentient AI, and she was picked up by a pirate space crew, and she was raised on board, and then one day she finds out that there may be a ship and said coordinates to the ship that could help DO9's glitching problem. So she convinces the crew to set off for this cursed ship so that she can help her best friend DO9. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars. It is by no means a perfect book. I had a lot of things that annoyed me. The plot is predictable, the characters are slightly stereotyped, and the writing style is not so elevated. However, it is an amazingly fun romp, and if you like space adventure, this is for you. Light sci-fi, it's for you. Sentient AI, it's for you. And the most important element for me right now on this weird journey that I call my reading life is human AI ship together romance. I am here for it, and it's a great element. Everyone should put it in all their books. There was also some great LGBTQ rep, as well as one of the most important factors, which is that I did not guess the plot twist of the end. I did not anticipate the end. And that's really hard for any book that is verging on young adult. I find that the endings are quite predictable usually. So this book, I was like, oh my god, how are you gonna end the book right now? That's crazy, you're insane. And yeah, it ends on a total cliffhanger, which I really hate books that end on cliffhangers, but I'm gonna forgive this one just because of the sheer amount of awesome that is in the story. So I will be reading the next one for sure when it comes out. So the last book that I want to talk about is one that I finished during Dewey's 24-hour readathon, which I will leave my vlog link down below if you'd like to check it out. I finished 3 books and started a 4th, so that was cool. In Coin Locker Babies, we follow 2 boys who are abandoned in adjacent coin lockers. They are eventually adopted and brought to a semi-deserted island and raised by a lovely family. But as they grow up, they decide to go to Tokyo and get revenge on the women who left them in the lockers in the first place. So as they get into Tokyo, they fall into the underbelly known as Toxic Town. One of them becomes a very famous rock star, and the other one, a pole vaulter, sets off for revenge / a treasure hunt with his girlfriend named Anemone, who keeps a pet crocodile. So this book is just a series of bonkers events. The writing style of Ryu Murakami is such a way that it is so visceral and gritty that either you're completely sucked in or you are completely repelled. I found that he is a very polarizing author, and I'm a person that loves him. I will say that if you like Yoko Ogara's darker books or Natsuo Kirino's Out, or basically anything by Poppy Z. Bright, then Coin Locker Babies would be a great read for you. Overall, I gave it 4.5 stars. I couldn't put it down. I was just savoring it. That finishes up my wrap-up, and I have just posted my wrap-up part 1, so please watch both. I read a lot this month, and I hope that you did too. This month was pretty awesome. We're getting into the rainy season in Japan. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's pouring, cats and dogs outside. I hope that you're having an amazing day and that you're reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. It would really mean a lot. And without further ado, I'm gonna say bye for now. Toodles!